Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of magic together. My name is Shivam, Bhatt. Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect, Quiver, and my patrons, patreon.com/ShivamB. Today's an interesting one. So like about 6-8 some months ago or whatever, I throw up on Twitter and on Blue Sky like, hey guys, who should I talk to? Because it turns out when you have to put out a show every single week, it is hard to come up with guests on your own. And eventually after like almost 300 of these, I've run out of friends to talk to. Unless you want to hear, like, I don't know, Tappy Toe Claws for the 48th time. That's a spoiler. She's going to be coming on episode 299. But that being notwithstanding, sometimes I get some really interesting people who ping me and actually reach back. And folks, feel free to pitch me. I need to talk to people and I love to talk to people. So if you've got a cool idea or are an interesting person or think somebody thinks you're an interesting person, that's good enough for me. But I got an email, which is even more interesting because nobody sends emails in the year of Someone's Lord 2025 from Australia. They have the internet there. And actually, to be fair, you are the third Australian I've had on this show. So that's kind of sick. And no, fourth Australian I've had on the show. Like, it's sad that I can count how many that's been, but it's kind of how it is. I am speaking today to Chillybin, who is one of the hosts of the Casual Compliance podcast and based out of Melbourne. And I'm really excited because, like, I love to find out what magic is like outside of America. Because literally the only discourse we ever see online is from a bunch of Americans complaining about American things and like a handful of Europeans or British people saying, hey, Yanks, please stop. So like I'm always very, very excited to hear about magic from the other, like, I don't know, sectors of like Wizards of the Coast hegemony of the world or whatever the hell. And since I don't speak quite enough Tagalog yet to get like Filipino players or whatever, Australia will have to do, man. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is exciting.
No, thank you. I'm excited to be here. And it's honestly, after listening to your show for a while, it's kind of weird to be here for the intro live. I was like, oh, we're just jumping straight into it, huh?
Well, I mean, there are shows. Some folks have told me like you should do like the thing that Mark Maron does and just start mid conversation. I'm like, no, I need to establish my show. I can't just throw you in. But yeah, like, well, okay. Here's some inside baseball. So normally when I'm doing these shows, depending on, I will always like kind of feel out the guest because I tape these at odd times generally. And sometimes it'll be like, oh, we need to have like a good 10-15 minutes of just banter back and forth to warm you up.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like, no, I think we're good. Let's just go.
Okay.
And sometimes it's like me and Alex Kessler and it's like 2.5 hours of conversation. And then we remember to hit record. But yeah, I don't know. I figure it's mid-afternoon for you, so you're already kind of warmed up.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I just got out of a call for work and I was like, great, time to go talk to Shivam.
Sweet, man. So let's talk about this. First off, let's talk about this basic notion here. When did you find magic?
So I started playing at the end of 2021.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. The first set that came out after I started was Neon Dynasty.
We're not allowed to talk. You are too young for me to talk to. This is not.
Well, here's the thing. I'm 35 and I have a full-time job. So what that means is I'm probably exactly what Magic wants. I'm already fully grown and I have disposable income.
Yes. That is in
time
fact,
to get into a card game.
That is in fact the truth. Yeah. You like me are exactly the target audience for what they want, which is somebody who's got more money than time and just wants to buy cards anyways.
Yep, that's it. But yeah, my co-host Gramps, otherwise known as Lewis, he started playing in like 2008.
Mm.
And he and I met through working at PAX Australia, and then he just one day hit me at the right time and was like, "Hey man, I think you should give Magic a go." And he turned up with a small number of precons, and he taught me and another buddy of mine how to play. It was just the three of us playing Commander at my dining table.
Okay, so you were already in your 30s at this point, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you're a full-grown adult, and some dude comes up to you and says, "Hey, there's this card game that you presumably have known about because the atmosphere, Magic, people just
Been
kind of
around.
know
Yeah.
vaguely what it is." But like, you're old enough to know better.
Yeah, you say that. I also have like north of 2,000 hours in Destiny 2. So like
Okay, so maybe you
I've
don't know
been
better.
making bad decisions for a while.
I laugh, but don't ask me how many hours I've got in Civilization. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will just accept
Yeah.
that. But okay, so you learned from Commander.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of those things that's actually been really interesting for me to when I was on the CAG. This is one of the things I
Mm.
cared a lot about, which is like player acquisition and how do people actually come into the game. And I've taught a lot of people to play Magic through Commander. And like, for instance, Olivia Gilbert Hicks learned by playing Two-Headed Giant Commander, which is maybe the most insane way to learn to play Magic of all time.
Yeah, I've never even
Eight
tried to play two-headed
player
giant.
Magic. Can you imagine? That's a
Yeah.
lot. But especially if you've never heard of this game before.
Yeah.
Uh, but Commander's, especially with modern precons, is rough, right? Like there's a lot of words on these cards
It's
and
complicated. Yeah.
they all interact. I mean, yeah, they all work together, but it's also like, what the hell? What do you mean I have to turn this thing sideways to make this guy do this thing and suddenly 48
Yeah.
things happen? What?
Yeah.
Do you remember what precons you started with?
They were, I believe, the Zendikar Rising precons. So we had Landsrath being played by the other buddy that was getting taught at the time, and then, God, what was it? Spirit Squadron? Is that? No.
A
I'm thinking
Spirit
of the wrong-
Squadron, I think, was the Midnight Hunt one.
Yeah, that I think that was in the mix, and then Gramps, bless his heart, was playing his Slivers deck that he had.
Oh, Jesus,
Yeah.
man. Are you for real?
Yeah,
Like,
he's had
hey,
a-
I want to teach you guys to play this game, and I want to make sure you never come back.
Yeah, yeah. It's that deck, to his credit, is worse now than it was then. There's a lot of things going on, plenty of opportunities to learn how the rules work and cards interact, especially when all slivers are making all slivers do whatever.
Yeah, look, dude, the Zendikar precons is the era that I consider the time when Wizards finally figured out how to make a good commander deck.
Mhm.
And that era of precons for like the next 3 or 4 years were like fantastic decks. They were all self-contained, they were perfect, they were thematic, they were fun to play,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't get your ass kicked if you went to a store.
Yeah.
But then they realized, what if I just make better decks than the ones you can make at home? And I'm like, but in that Halcyon era of like Neon Dynasty and Midnight Hunt and Zendikar and whatever, those decks were great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see teaching somebody how to play with those, because that was almost like starter deck level of commander decks.
Yeah.
What did
Yeah,
you
that-
think of the game though? Like,
So
I mean, obviously you're here, but like,
I'm here
what were
now.
your initial
Yeah.
impressions of like what this is like?
Well, it's funny because I feel like throughout my life, I've had a lot of near misses with Magic, of like people around me, or like going to shows, or people at high school that were like playing it, and at the time I was like, oh, there's some nerd stuff, that's not for me. And it was just about, yeah, right time, right place. I think the things that really hooked for me were, I'm a software engineer by trade. I've done that for like 13 years now. So I've got a good head for systems, and the rules engine of Magic is a really fascinating thing. And I found it quite easy to like find a lot of, I don't know, just satisfaction in the way that the cards interact and the rules work and everything kind of plays together.
Magic is a very chewy game.
Yeah.
When it comes to
yeah.
systems, it's got a crunchy game, not chewy. It's
Yeah.
a very like, there's a lot, like if you look under, I don't mean to I don't know. I guess you caught me on a digression day where I've just got stories about everything you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, there's a book called Hackers, which was
Mhm.
written by Stephen Levy a long time ago, and it documents the rise of computers through the 3 groups of nerds from the 50s, the 70s, and the 80s. And the original group of nerds in MIT who built like the first PDP and the first computers, they were part of this thing called the Tech Model Railroad Club, which was
Okay.
this club in the University of MIT. And it was based on like building fancy model train sets, like a whole classroom would be full. And the club was split in 2 halves. the top half with the people who cared about like building the models and doing the, the putting the leaves on the trees and making sure the gauges on the trains were correct or whatever. Like the artsy nerds. And
Yep.
then there were the folks who were the systems nerds who wanted to live under the table where all the clinking and clanking and
Mhm.
all the relays and switches and everything were. And that's like where Rosewater got his idea of top down and bottom up. You're looking at the bottom at the
Right.
switches. I
Yeah.
mean, he'll say it's from a magic card, but really it pre-exists him by like centuries.
Yeah.
But the point though is like magic is split very cleanly into those halves, right? Like the Vorthos person is like, I
Mhm.
want to know who Sarah is, and I want to know who Sanger is. And then the person's like, oh my God, if I put these two cards together, this crazy combination of nonsense is going to come out.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for that, there's a lot to bite
Yeah,
into.
even like I was building a deck recently, and I put Sundial of the Infinite in there, and I'm like, why
Mm.
would you ever want to end the turn? But it turns out if you're playing with the warp keyword, you want to keep the stuff that you got in for cheap.
Oh,
You
that's cute.
just keep it around, yeah. So like
That's
old
cute.
cards coming back in. I think that's what like over time has kept me interested in Commander. Is I'll find a weird card from like 10 years ago that no one uses, but it's perfect for this weird thing I'm trying to do right now.
You are speaking my language, sir.
Yeah. It's so fun. I love weird effects and trying to find a use case for them. Like
Yes.
I think devour as a keyword. Like the first time I saw it was on Feasting Hobbit from Lord of the Rings. It says devour food 3. So you sack a food, you put 3 counters on it. Number of
Yes.
food counters multiplied by 3. Food
Yes.
tokens. Yeah. And then I was like, well, what else has devour printed on it?
Oh, devour is such a good keyword.
Yeah, so I have a Thromok the Insatiable Commander deck.
Devour X, isn't it?
Devour X is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
It's like,
Because it's
hey, do you want to do cubic math?
yeah, and it's in Gruul, so you can include a Scoot Swarm and just have an insanely large number multiplied by itself. and then you hit that with a Chandra's Ignition and game over. And that was all because of Feasting Hobbit, right? And
Oh my God.
I love having these little moments of like, well, that's an interesting little rules interaction or keyword or something like that, and then going, what if that was the whole thing? What if that was the whole deck?
One of my favorite cards that I use in my Minsc and Boot deck is called Dragon Broodmother.
Oh yeah,
She's
yeah,
like
that's in
at the beginning of like at the beginning of every upkeep, you get a 1/1 with Devour 2, a 1/1
Yep.
dragon with Devour 2. It's
Yep.
like eat the other babies, get super big.
And that to me is like the sort of like the lore of what that card is in terms of like the dragon and what its young do when they come in, combining really well with the mechanic on the card itself of like, oh yeah, they're going to eat the thing and get bigger. That's great. I love that.
Dude, the one that got me is that in Edge of Eternities, they made a new Devour card called Famished Worldsire, which has Devour Land.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the? That's
yeah.
I want to put that card in my Titania deck. It's so busted.
Which
so
Titania? Because I have a Titania deck.
Original Titania.
Okay, because I did
she makes
trying to hit the meld with the land, but the whole deck is concerned with play lands and then put them in your graveyard. Famished Worldsire, perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean my deck is all about like I built that deck around like I want to play Zern Orb. It's one of my favorite cards from when I was a kid. And so Titania is the Zern Orb deck. Here we go.
Yep.
And I've got my original Zern Orb from when I was a kid. So it makes me very happy every time I draw it.
A fellow Zern Orb enjoyer.
Oh, dude, I traded a foil Tarmogoyf for a Crucible of Worlds back when Tarmogoyf was like $300 or whatever. And I do not regret it for a second because, yeah, dude, Titania is, I only just saw this card now and I need to get this for that deck because it's disgusting. Oh my God, that's going to be so busted in that deck.
Yeah.
Anyways, that means,
sorry, Commander. We're talking about me getting into Commander, right?
Right, but like, okay, so in 2021, so it's like right at the end of like lockdown or something, so we're all kind of jonesing for something new to do. But you missed Ikoria and you missed all the hot messes that were going on.
Yeah, I've heard, and like there's some cool cards in Ikoria, and I kind of wish I'd been around at the time to get my hands on it, but. Yeah, it was right before Neon Dynasty.
I mean, if you're going to join, joining right before the best set of all time is a way to join.
Yeah, I still love that set so much.
Yeah, because like One thing I've noticed is that it's never the set you start with, it's the set immediately following it that grabs you. Because when
Mm,
you're starting, you don't necessarily understand what's going on or, like, how to
yeah.
draft or what play or anything. The set afterwards is when you're like, "Oh, I'm here for this. I'm fully invested,"
Yeah, and,
and it's
like,
crazy town now.
yeah, getting to, like, be there as the set comes out. Like, I didn't do the pre-release, I wasn't that deep in yet to start going to
Mm.
things like that, but, buying some booster packs and, like, starting to get that first sort of taste of, opening packs, it's a hell of a thing.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend Kat the other day. We were, meeting up for lunch, and she was telling me, "Is like, I've resisted Magic for so long, and now I have 9 decks." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's 100% my fault, I understand."
Mhm.
And she's like, "This game is so expensive." I'm like, "It is an all-consuming life hobby."
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
But, okay, so, like, I get it, picking up Magic in 21 or whatever, but that's not, "Hey, let's make a podcast." Like, it took me decades before I got from here to there.
Yeah.
I mean, podcasts had to be invented first, but, uh we were talking, before we started about Giant Bombcast, and
Mm.
that reminded me that I was part of one of the first video game podcasts ever, which was the One Up Show,
Oh, yeah.
which was and One Up Yours that we did when I was an intern at One Up in 2005 or whatever, and I'm like, "God damn, I've been doing podcasts for literally 20 years now."
You've been doing them as long as they've been a thing, it sounds like.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of nutty to think about. Uh I remember pitching it. I was like, "Dude, we should do a podcast. That way I can, like, on this train ride up, I can have something to listen to." And they're like, "What's a podcast?" I'm like, "Well, I've got these iPods and like, I've heard these people, like, just sit and, like, do radio shows on iPods. It's cool." Now, of course, radios and iPods don't exist, but we still have podcasts.
We do. Yeah, everything's everything's just on the phone now.
Yeah, right? It's horrible. But yeah, so how deep did you get when you joined Command? Like, when you started playing, did you like, how deep are you now? Have you just gone ham and bought a million
It's
cards?
Look, I'm gonna be telling on myself a whole bunch in this episode, I feel like. So like I said, Gramps has been playing since 2008. His collection sits at about, I think we were talking about it the other day, of like, he's at like 28,000 cards, something like that. He's
Ah,
been
noob.
collecting and doing that for ages. My At least as far as what we both have loaded into Moxfield, my collection is larger by a couple of thousand cards. So here's the
Oh,
thing. I got in, Neon Dynasty comes out, and then basically for 2 or 3 years after that, I was buying at least a booster box for each set. Like, it would be like booster box, maybe a bundle, maybe the precons if they grab me. Um, and then that has resulted in me having a lot of cards in bulk.
yeah.
And I started building decks pretty quickly, even after buying the first sort of couple of precons that I grabbed. Because I was just like, hey, this Avacyn Angel of Hope is pretty cool. What if that was a commander? And that was the first deck I ever built. Mono white
Mhm,
angels with
mhm.
an 8 mana commander. Honestly, what am I doing?
That is the you know what, though? That's the format as intended.
Yeah.
That's the like, if your commander costs less than 8, why are we even here? Like, what's the point? Like, the whole point of Commander, the whole point of EDH when it started was, here's all these 12 mana unplayable cards that are garbage in booster packs that had nothing to
Mhm.
do and nowhere to go, and what if we built a format around playing these just ginormo hunkers? And
Yeah.
it turns out, everybody liked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I think at the moment I've probably got behind me built about 20 low 20s decks.
Mm.
I've got like two
Yeah,
or three
like,
of
I just
those.
got an original Legends Palladium Moors in
Oh,
the mail. It's
damn.
pretty sick.
Damn. Yeah, I've got like a few of those that I haven't played in ages, and I'm going to pull them apart and rethink that. I set myself a challenge a while back of like, build a deck for each monocolor, including colorless. So like
Mm.
just a small 6 deck challenge, just to force myself to like play in colors that I don't usually play with. But I
Mhm.
also wanted it to still be fun. Like the initial black commander I was going to do was Rankle, Master of Pranks. And then I
Oh,
was like,
god.
no, wait, making everybody discard all the time is a terrible experience. Let's not do that.
Yeah, it's kinda like, oh, yeah, the fun part of this. That's like the
Yeah. Yeah. So it
now
was a
there's a
fun
lot of
balance
fun
of
mono
like,
black.
was that
Mhm.
sorry?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that was an interesting challenge of like,
What did you land on?
So what I landed on was from Baldur's Gate. It's Saravok,
Mm.
Deathbringer, paired with the Cultist of the Absolute background. So Saravok's basically, if nothing left the battlefield at the end of each turn, if nothing left the battlefield, that player loses 3 life. So that could be like, a creature dying, could be sacrificing a treasure, could be anything, any permanent leaving the battlefield anywhere. And then Cultist of the
Oh, right.
Absolute just makes Saravok bigger and harder to remove because the life loss is based on Saravok's power.
Hmm.
And
So
so,
this guy does not work with warp, is what you're saying.
no. Well, it would, because you warp in a permanent and then it leaves on the
And
end
then,
step.
yeah, well, you can stack it such that the leaving would happen afterwards, I
Yeah.
think.
But the nice thing about that background is it gives you, as the controller, an upkeep sacrifice a creature trigger. So on your own
I love
turn,
that one, though.
you can turn the life loss off.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the olden days when you could tap your own winter orb to keep it from impacting you.
Yeah.
I'm very old. My references are very old. Winter Orb's a card that said you could only untap one land at a time unless it was tapped,
Yeah.
because tapping artifacts in the old days used to turn them off. Um, the old days.
Hey, people still play Winter Orb.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, 1994 was a wild time. Okay, like
Yeah.
we played a lot of bizarre magic in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
days. It's funny because like you triggered a thought in my head of like people don't realize just how much ambient cards they have. Like if
Mm,
you buy a box every set and then you buy like I buy a box and maybe a collector box and like a couple of pre-release kits and then the commander decks by itself, that's already like 1,000 cards,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you fill a long box, you fill enough long boxes, 800 card length boxes or whatever, and suddenly it's like, oh, that's like 40,000 cards just
Yep.
ambiently on that shelf.
It adds up so quick.
And you're like, I need one of them and they're all unlabeled. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because like I think it was at the start of this year, maybe like over the holiday break, I had an itch to build a deck, but I didn't want to like go out and just buy a bunch of cards and like put a list together online. So I was like, hey, what can I just build out of my collection? And so there was this card from, I think, Dominaria United or like DMC maybe, Jasmine Boreal of the 7.
She was
Which,
the bonus card from one of the bonus legends from Dominaria
yeah,
United.
yeah, effectively amounts to like you can tap it for mana, but effectively it says creatures with no abilities are unblockable by creatures with abilities. And I had that card in the back of my mind ever since I first pulled it, and I was like, that'll be interesting. It'll give me a place to put vanilla creatures, but it's not actually. I don't know if that's going to actually be fun to play. And
It's a
then
cute gimmick.
Duskmourn happened, and I started thinking about face down creatures because
Mm.
they don't have abilities. And there's all sorts of shenanigans you can pull with face down creatures, and suddenly Selesnya face down creatures is very fun.
Now you're playing with big brain over here,
Yeah.
man.
And then you get stuff that cares about creatures with different names. And of course, face down creatures don't have names. They don't have types. There's a whole bunch of stuff that like starts to get layered in there just because face down creatures have basically nothing on them.
I love that.
Yeah. So now what I want to do is go and buy a bunch of old cards with morph that I don't have and really like boost the number of creatures that are flippable in that deck.
I'm holding tears back. You're speaking my you're singing the song I want to hear.
Yeah.
Like my favorite kind of decks to build are literally grab what is in arm's reach on my desk and put them together into a pile and see what happens.
Yeah.
Or like grab a bunch of random draft chaff or like open a box and just build a deck out of that and figure it out. Like don't I mean you can optimize it if you want to, but it's more fun. Like I think it's just so much more fun to find synergies within weirdo cards.
Yeah.
Like if you can take old dusty limited crap that nobody's ever thinking about and find a way to make it into something insane, you feel so good and everybody's looking at these cards like, what the hell is that?
Oh yeah.
Where did that even come from?
There was like I think it's Kozilek Butcher of is it Butcher of Truth, the one that like lets you manifest off the top of your library. It's like you and target player manifest two
Yes, I
cards
know
off
what you're
the
talking
top.
about.
And that gives other colorless creatures +3/+2, and of course face down creatures are colorless, and then also it's letting you create 2 more face down creatures. So I've got a Kozilek in that face down deck, and that was just something I happened to have in a binder, and I was like, well, this actually works really well here, even if it looks insane.
a friend of mine was playing in a pod, and one of his opponents had a changelings based deck. So
Mhm.
everybody was a changeling. They were all like, doing all the crazy lords, and it was going very, very nutty. And he was playing a deck with a bunch of grody old cards. And one of the cards was from Tempest. It's called Spirit Mirror. Spirit Mirror is a 2 white enchantment that says during your upkeep, if there are no reflection tokens in play, you put a reflection token, and it's a 2/2 white creature. But
Okay.
it's also got the ability at the bottom, which says 0, destroy target reflection. You know what
Huh.
every changeling is?
Yeah, it's a reflection.
Turns out. And he was just like walking through and smashing all the mirrors, and it's just like, oh my god.
That rules.
And the other player was very distraught when they realized they literally had no protection because their
Man.
whole deck is just like blowing away in the wind. It's so funny. I love it when we can take cards from 20, 30 years ago that were like somebody made as a one-off. Oh, that's a neat idea.
Mm.
And then it suddenly becomes like the core genesis of your deck.
Yeah.
Like my Kadira deck, which is like my deck based around like, dragon bunnies around or whatever. Kadira, she is a Baldur's Gate card that makes like when she deals combat damage to a person, you get a 1/1 rabbit for each other token you have in play.
Mhm.
So if you have like random tokens, you get like 3, 4 rabbits or something. It's
Yeah.
really cool. And I was like, how do you make this deck but differently? And what I found was there's a card from Darksteel called Nemesis Mask, which is an equipment that's basically a lure, which says, whatever the equipped creature is, every creature, when it attacks, every creature that can has to block it. So what I do is I
Oh,
take one of my little bunnies
yeah.
and I stick him in the mask, and Kadira's got like 400 different equipment on her, so she's super Voltroned up.
Yep.
And her one bunny go walk in, and all the rest of the bunnies have exalted because my deck is built to do all the crazy other things.
Yep.
And it's just like other, buffs and things. So there's like 400 of them just hanging out in the back. One little bunny walks in, scares everybody, and the Kadira comes and punches him in the face.
That's great. Yeah.
And it's like, look at this. This is garbage card from 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
It's the best.
Yeah.
So we were mentioning those. So like that's how did you come to making a podcast? Why did you decide you wanted to make a podcast?
Yeah. So like obviously Gramps and I have been playing Magic for a while. And he came to my house one day, we were sitting on the couch. He's just like he asked me the question, do you think Caracas could be unbanned?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That was the beginning of the conversation. I was like, well, first question, what is Caracas? I've never heard of it. Which is what, like tap it to return a legendary creature to hand, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So once I'd looked that up, we had about 10 or 20 minutes of back and forth of like whether or not we thought you could bring it off the ban list. That was basically the genesis of the entire show. The tagline that we use is it's a show about the culture and philosophy of Commander through the ban list. So we take a random card off the ban list every episode and just kind of I don't know, see if we think it could be unbanned. And me being a newer player, a lot of these cards I've never seen before.
Okay.
So, Gramps will read me the card in the episode and I'm like, I'll do it. I'll live react to it essentially of like, how does this sound to me? Like I'm editing right now our episode on Library of Alexandria. And when I heard that, the idea of like tap it to draw a card, but only if you have 7 cards in hand, I was like, that seems fine to me. The ban reason on that one's really interesting, and I'll get to that in a sec. But then what we do is
I helped write that list, so I know what.
Yeah, perfect person to be talking to. But then what we do is we take a break. This is what we cut out of the episode, and we'll go and spend about 10 minutes essentially trying to prepare our arguments on sort of either side. Gramps will ham it up a bit for the show, but he'll play the part of like unban everything, and I am maybe a little bit more reserved than that. But then we come back and we like actually go through the ban reason and then go through like what we found of like similar cards that are legal and like how they're different, or like combos that are possible with these banned cards, and maybe that's why it's banned and all that sort of stuff.
This is what we used to do in the CAG and RC meetings basically daily for like 5 years.
Yeah, great.
It was like sit and go through all these cards, like, why is this card here? And it's like, because sometimes the received wisdom is like, oh, this card was unbeatable in 2004, or like sometimes like the audience is like, oh, Sheldon lost to that card, so of course it was banned. No, they're way better players than that.
Yeah,
These cards were banned because they caused some meaning of unfun, and they
yeah,
just either it was budgetary, and they won't explicitly say that, but I'm not on the CAG anymore. I can say that some things like Library of Alexandria costing $10,000
yeah,
is a good reason for it to be
yeah.
banned.
Yeah, like the thing that we've kind of stumbled into is looking at why cards are banned is a really interesting lens from the outside of what the intended design of the format is, right? Like
Yes,
you've got the philosophy document, but then you've also got the ban list and the ban reasons. We still use mtgcommander.net and the original ban list reasons in our show. We
I
also
appreciate that.
Hey,
I'm sure
it's
Gavin appreciates it.
before we had there was an article back in like April with the like brackets update, and that had some extra language of like from Gavin of here's a modern day statement of why we're still not unbanning these cards, and so we kind of take as much information as we can of why these cards are banned from whatever official source that comes from. And we factor that into the show. So, like I said, Library of Alexandria,
Have you
yes.
been going alphabetical down the list?
No, it's random. So
Okay.
we start the episode and then we know what card we're talking about.
Did you guys do limited resources yet?
Uh, limited resources. I think we just shot that this weekend, actually.
Yeah, because like that card, that's a card. Somebody came to me and it's like, you could totally unban limited resources. I'm like, are you high? If you're playing a 4-player game and
Yeah,
there cannot be more than 10 lands,
yeah,
period.
yeah. It was designed for 2-player Magic. Of
And
course, it doesn't
it was a
scale.
terrible card then too.
Yeah,
It was not
but
like
yeah,
it was not designed for Magic, period.
no, it's a bad time. But yeah, Library of Alexandria, like I mentioned, you
Mm,
said yes, like cost and perceived cost of entry is a ban reason we see show up every now and then.
yeah.
But the subtlety of the ban reason for library being inexperienced players won't realize that card is why they're losing. That is
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
Tim wrote that and he is dead on. Tim Willoughby might be one of the smartest guys in Magic, real talk, in terms of just understanding the nuance of why things are banned. Like
Yeah.
Library of Alexandria, if you watch people play Cube, where Library is played the most, you will see like people will grab a Library of Alexandria because like, oh, Legend tells me this card is amazing. It lets me draw 7 cards.
Hmm.
But what you don't understand is you have to have full 7 in your hand to get that 8th card.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting with 7 cards in hand in a library, you're not doing anything. So yeah, you're drawing cards, but you're getting pummeled, and you've always got that notion in your head, especially when you're younger, inexperienced, not younger, but if you're an inexperienced player and you don't necessarily understand the give and take of a game of Magic, especially when you got a Library of Alexandria,
Hmm.
and you got to realize, like one of the hardest lessons for Magic players to learn is sometimes you have to discard that card with flashback. You don't get to get both sides of it,
Yeah.
right? You don't get to cast it and then get to flash it back at the full value. Sometimes you got to pitch that thing and then get the rebound value later. Library of Alexandria, sometimes you aren't going to get that 7th card
Hmm.
and you need to play the game.
Yeah.
And you're just going to die with this card in
Yeah.
play. And you're going to be like, why? I have Library of Alexandria. Why did I lose? It's like, well, because you got greedy.
Yeah. What else did you have?
Yeah, like did you think about like, because you're like, oh, if I play this card though, then I'm gonna drop below the threshold. I won't get to draw the card. I'm like,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
but you'll also live a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting episodes we did was we did conspiracy like as a
Mm,
full single episode. But 6 months prior to shooting that episode, we had bought a booster box of conspiracy just as a bit, and we had it like sitting in the background of a bunch of episodes, and then we were thinking about like doing a conspiracy episode, and then we said, what if we just get some people together and actually draft this box? And we had
mhm.
8 people at a local brewery on a Saturday, like in December. And December for us is summertime, so it was like
Summertime.
the best. And we sat around. We had a full 8. I think we had 7 or 8 people.
Mhm,
So we had two multiplayer pods going in the end, and everyone was playing. Well, actually, not everybody even drafted and played conspiracies. That's the funny thing. I had like 5 going.
mhm.
And yeah, then we did the episode, and it's I think at the top of the show you mentioned the fact that I had just kind of like cold emailed you,
Yeah.
That has kind of been like a quiet ethos of our show is like, just send the email. The worst thing that can happen is they don't respond. So for the conspiracy episode, we reached out to a few people about like, a few people just around like magic creation and just trying to get a sense of like what people thought of conspiracy at the time, people that were around for it.
It is my all-time favorite format.
Okay, we should have reached out to you. I
It
can't
is
remember who
literally
did.
like the episode I recorded right before this, that will be airing right before this one does, was with Sean Elizabeth Main, who was the lead designer and creator of Conspiracy.
Oh, amazing.
And she's one of my dear friends and also my favorite designer.
Mhm.
And Conspiracy and Conspiracy 2 are, in my opinion, next, like in my tiers of great things Magic has done beyond creating the game. Conspiracy 1 and 2 and then Mystery Boosters are like my top tier of favorite possible things to do.
Yeah.
And play, because Conspiracy reminds me of what it was like to play multiplayer Magic when I was a kid. When there's like 4 of us, 5 of us, 6 of us hanging out playing 60 card decks or 40 card decks or whatever random amount of cards you own decks, not commanders, not thematic, just here's a pile of cards I own with 1 or 2 cute bombs in there and weird effects. The conspiracies themselves are amazing. The vote cards are amazing. Everything feels so, it's like somebody has taken Magic and looked at it entirely orthogonally from what your normal viewpoint of Magic is. It's like looking at Dan, right? Like this is using the same game pieces. However, this game is not the same game.
So different.
And Conspiracy it feels like Magic as Richard Garfield intended more so than a lot of things do, because it's so loosey-goosey and weird and unbalanced and you don't have all the cards accessed and it feels right.
I used the
Did you enjoy it?
conspiracy. I used the conspiracy to turn a Sakura Tribe Elder into a mana dork. You're not meant
See,
to
there we
do
go,
that.
baby. Yeah, I love that. Did you have fun?
Oh, it was so good. It was so much fun. I think
good.
it was just, I can't even remember what my deck was, but I had 5 conspiracies going, bunch of +1 counter shenanigans. It was a good time.
I spent 4 years trying to find a way to make conspiracies work with Commander, even on a casual level, and it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to build a pre-con environment with the conspiracies in mind, but even that, like I would totally do it just because that would be hella fun to do anyways. Like here's a hermetically sealed bunch of decks that have these already kind of pre-built.
Yeah, I think you'd need a much more limited pool of like sanctioned conspiracies, essentially, because some of them are
basically
busted.
Yeah,
and they just sit in the command zone, and you just have those effects, and you can't do anything about them. That was essentially like what we came down to, was like there's no way you could take them as is and put them into Commander, because it would be the homogeny problem. Everyone would just run all of the best ones all of the time because there's no reason not to.
Yeah, and really those are cards that just do work better in draft. Not every card has to be for every format.
That's it.
I mean,
but we ended up with that. Like we took all 7 of us and did a single 7-player game, and it was mental.
It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, but then back to that point about like just send the email. Like we got a response back from Sam of Ristic Studies. He sent us this beautiful quote that we put in the episode. Just kind of like in typical like Sam prose fashion, like recounting the days of when conspiracy was new and pontificating on its place in Magic history. It was so sweet.
People, when Conspiracy came out, there was almost immediate outpouring of love from the community because it was so weird and so cool, and it had reprints that we'd never seen before, and it was just like using cards that we had forgotten existed. That, like, one of my favorite cards in there, Siphon Soul, which is like it does 3 damage to everybody and gives you life equal to the amount drained. And it's like it's a 5 mana card. You're never going to play it in actual Commander, but in like a 20 life format, when you got a whole table of this, it's hella good. It's so cool. And it's like, that's why, like, that's one of the things that just the hegemony of Commander makes me sad sometimes, because there's so many weirdo, cute, fun cards that exist for 60 card formats or kitchen table casual formats that just don't get to see play anymore. Anyways, have you run into any cards that you think we were lunatics for putting on the list in the first place?
On the ban list?
Yeah. I'm curious what you think now that we're talking about this. Because, like, did you know that when Commander was originally created, there was an inherent rule that said if this card is a Commander, it had protection from Caracas.
No.
It was just
What?
default. The original, if this creature is a commander,
Right.
it gains the ability protection from Karakas because that card was so busted. Because
Yeah.
when you're playing with an Elder Dragon who costs 8 to cast, and somebody can just tap their goddamn planes to bounce it back to your hand,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to remember that for whenever Caracas comes up for us, because that's a very interesting wrinkle I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, like no, that card was from day one of the most well. There's a couple of things. Like originally, the commander life pool was 200 divided by the number of players.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, and every commander had protection from Karakas.
Wow.
Just because, and then they were like, what if instead of making it weird like that, what if we just
Get rid of
realize that this
Caracas.
is the
Yeah.
problem is actually this stupid card?
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, like stuff that has come up for us, it's funny because like the 5 cards that came off the ban list recently, we had done episodes on them already, and they were announced in our release order. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, but it was interesting. Someone did point it out to us. But I think all of those, I looked at them and went like, I don't think these are good. And then Panoptic Mirror especially felt like, I don't think we'll ever see this legal. And yet here we are. And what gifts
Panoptic
ungiven,
Mirror
like
was
shooter for 2, basically, if you play it right.
Panoptic Mirror was one of those cards that was the old guard of the RC hated it because people used to put like Time Walk on there,
Of course.
or whatever, and just take infinite turns.
Mm.
And it's like, dude, it costs 5 mana to cast, and then 5 mana to like
To
trigger it in the first place,
to imprint and all the stuff.
Yeah, and by that point, if you're already getting infinite turns, you've played just Nexus of Fate, and we're done.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other weirdo cards that you could play with Panoptic Mirror that are just fun.
Yeah.
But it was such a big ass problem in the early days of Commander that it was just not worth, because all the cards that were making it problematic still existed.
Yeah.
And like they didn't get worse. Like this card, that's the thing. People forget that Commander is a forever format. And so cards that were bad before don't magically get less bad because more cards have been printed. Oftentimes they become actually worse.
Yeah, because like maybe we're printing more tutors or more things that interact with them, and so they are easier to become a problem with.
Yeah, but the flip side is also there have been 30,000 cards printed since X, Y, and Z were put on the ban list. Maybe maybe unbanning this is okay because nobody's actually going to bother putting it in their deck.
Yeah,
and Sway of the Stars.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like those 5 cards are now legal, but I don't think I've run into any of them yet. And I'll put an asterisk on that by saying I then have since bought a Panoptic Mirror and put it into a deck. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet. But I went to a show
Coalition
and someone
Victory was like, like Coalition Victory is a poster child of like, oh, this card is banned because it was a free win out of nowhere back in the old days. And now it's even easier because Triomes exist.
Yep.
You have 2 Triomes and you can put this out and you just, in a 5-color commander, you can win on the spot. But then they're also like, but if I'm paying 8 mana to win the game, every card that costs me 8 mana should win the game.
Yeah, which is very fair.
I think it's a 5-color card.
I still don't love Coalition Victory, mainly for the fact that every other card that says you win the game is either a permanent, so you can see it coming, or it's Approach of the Second Sun, and you have to cast it once before the win the game effect can even happen, right? So Coalition Victory is kind of like the only out of nowhere one of those.
Yes, exactly that. That was one of the big things. It's like this feels like it invalidates the entire game state to that point. Like we didn't see it coming. We didn't have a thing we could do about it. And you just, GG's.
Yeah.
And I hate that. That's like the thing that goes against everything I kind of believe. But at the same time, I'm also like, but Coalition Victory is such a stupid card and nobody's going to waste time. If you're playing a Weatherlight themed deck and you put Coalition Victory in it, great.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Fine. Nobody else is going to bother. Braids I was less enchanted with, but it's also like, who cares? They're like Turgid exist. What is the problem with Braids?
That's so true.
I mean, Turgid shouldn't exist. That's a different story. But
Turgids in my life and shouldered the apocalypse than I have Braids.
Jesus Christ, right? Like, come on. And then like Gifts. Gifts Ungiven is one of those cards where I'm like, I know why this card was banned because it is such an easy way to get a combo win, like instantaneously.
That's it.
And then I'm like, but like just whatever.
Yeah,
Let people play with
people who are
gifts.
motivated to do that are gonna find a way to do that. There's so many
Yeah, like,
ways to put those kind of combos together now.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things like that card is that's one of the cards I think was like, yes, I know why this was a problem, and no, I don't think it's still a problem just because there's so many choices for things to play that if you like gifts and want to play gifts, go ahead and like gifts. I don't care.
Yeah,
Like I've got like 100 other cards that'll do the exact same thing that'll win me the game. Like
that's it. Yeah.
and it and I think it was like there was this one blue card intuition or impulse or something like that that did something very similar
Mhm.
and it, it's just like gifts cost like $2. Who
Mhm.
cares? Go let him play gifts. It's fine. Um, but there are some cards that people keep saying like you could totally bring Hull Breacher back. I'm like, no, no, that's never going to be a card. Stop.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's also like, we looked at Flash recently,
Mm,
um, and that one, on first glance, I was like, great, you drop a thing in for 2 mana, and then if you want to keep the creature, you pay the difference, right, between the
mhm.
2 and the creature's cost. And then it wasn't until after we kind of like did the research bit, and I thought more about it, that I was like, oh, the point isn't to keep the creature.
No,
The point is
not
what the
even a
creature
little bit.
does when it enters or leaves, and
Mhm.
that's where I was like, oh, that's what Flash Hulk means.
Yeah, it turns out when Hulk comes into play
Yeah,
and dies immediately and
yeah,
gets you
that's what you
12
want,
mana worth of
actually.
cards,
Yeah,
turns out it's broken as hell.
yeah. So that's kind of the fun part of our show, is like sometimes I just sound like an idiot because I haven't played Magic for that long, and then you get to watch me in real time learn a thing.
See, that's the thing. I am very much just enjoying this conversation because I spent 5 years of my life dedicated to understanding and figuring out and, explaining the ban list to people,
Mm,
right? Like, that was part of my gig at the CAG. That was, like, trying to justify these things and trying to explain, and then going back to the team and also saying, like, "This is not justifiable,"
yeah.
But then there's things that I fought very hard to get, like, Iona on the ban list or Paradox Engine or whatever,
Mm,
and some people are like, "Why is Iona on the ban list?" I'm like, "'Cause locking somebody out of the game is antithetical to a multiplayer game. I don't care what you have to say.
yeah.
I just don't think that that is a fair card." And like, um, and then some people are just like, "But what about Grizzlebrand?" And I'm like, "Shut up, man. You have 40 life.
Think about Grizzlebrand for a
Even the first
second.
read of that card. Are you kidding me? That card is there might not be a more broken card.
Yeah, for a 40 starting life total,
Yeah, let
Grizzlebrand's
me just draw
fine.
21 cards.
Yeah,
It's fine. What could happen?
yeah. Look at all these
so
options I have now. Who needs a
so
life
then
total?
yeah. Okay, so then tell me what is this what's the community like down there? Like what is it like playing Magic over there? Like how do you guys I mean, presumably you get your cards the same as everybody else. You're not like Brazil where it's like, "Oh, the cards didn't make it on the boat this time, so we got to import them from China." Uh but
Yeah,
like
I don't think we have that problem.
you
No,
don't
we
have like
yeah.
availability problems or anything.
I mean, I think we do, just because like the Australia, and maybe this is a problem for all of APAC. It's like just a smaller market, so like
Yeah.
stores are only getting so much product. But then I guess that's the case everywhere with how popular things are getting these days.
These days the one I mean, Rosewater has been saying like Final Fantasy was so popular and there's so many people playing Magic right now that a normal allotment of set cards is not enough
Yeah,
and will immediately sell out just like they printed Edge of Eternities at normal levels. It sold out so quickly that stores didn't even get
yeah.
cards,
Out
let
like
alone
plenty of games here in Melbourne. The game store that we probably go to the most, they don't even have product to do a Edge of Eternity's Friday night draft.
right,
They
let
just don't
alone
have
Dragons of
boosters.
Tarkir.
Yeah,
Tarkir was gone the second it came
yeah.
out.
And like, don't get me wrong, good sets. There's just not enough
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Right, and I mean, I guess that's one of those things where if you're a wizard, you're like, "That's a good problem to have."
Yeah. Yeah, I
I guess
guess.
selling through my entire stock is not the worst thing in the
No,
world.
no. But yeah, so like I would imagine it's the same as everywhere. We've got game stores, go play Commander. There's a couple of ones that we tend to go to. It's a decently tight community. Like Melbourne's 4 or 5 million people, something like that.
Hmm.
Same as my home country. My entire home country's population would fit into Melbourne, New Zealand.
Where are you from?
New Zealand,
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
small,
I
very
was
small.
like But you don't have a noticeable Kiwi accent.
I've never really had a strong one. It'll come out in certain words and vowel sounds in particular, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've always had a pretty neutral accent, which can be confusing
Which
for some people.
yeah, like because you sound like Australian radio voice almost, which is just like
Oh, well,
kind
thank
of
you.
like it's got like Anzac, the vowels and the I mean, I'm a
Yes,
linguist, this is my other hobby. You've
right.
got like that right tone of like geographically, I can tell where you're from, but I have a lot of friends who are from like Auckland and stuff. So
Mhm.
I know what New Zealand sounds like. And I've got a lot of friends from like Sydney. I know what Australia is supposed to sound like. And you sound like you live in the ocean between the two.
Pretty
And I'm
much.
like, that's not a geographical place people can live.
No one lives there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Melbourne, yeah, like 4 million people. So like it's all just factors of scale, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean, being in a big city makes it much easier to at least find a community.
yeah,
Like, I assume if you're out in, like, Perth or something, it's probably much harder, or Tasmania or, like, I don't know,
probably, yeah,
the deep hinterland of
yeah, yeah,
Australia.
yeah. But you know, I mean, having PAX Australia here in Melbourne is a huge boon. There's, I've worked at the show for the last 10 years, so like this will be the first year I'm going not working for the show
Just going as a
essentially.
pleb.
Yeah, so
It's
I'll get
funny.
to actually like maybe play some Magic at PAX. That'll be nice.
You know, it's wild. I came back to Magic because I went I started playing, like, I started playing in 1994, and then I left because we all leave and come back, and I came back because of Duels of Planeswalkers vaguely. I was like, "Oh, this is neat," and then my wife and I, we used to go to PAX Prime all the time
Mm,
because we love board games, and it's like a day drive from my house or whatever.
yeah, nice.
So we would take a vacation and drive all the way up the coastline. Um, and we went there in 2011 or 2010 or something, and they were handing out like free intro starter decks. And I was like, oh my God, I love Magic. And we're waiting in line for like, me and my friends were waiting in line for a panel or whatever. So we're sitting and playing Magic in the line. And I'm like, and then on the drive home, we stop in Portland and buy dual decks. And then I come back and find out that like a week later, Worlds is happening over here or something in San Francisco. So I just go
Mhm.
to Worlds and I draft Innistrad for like $5 against like Team Finland or something. And I'm like, I've never drafted before. And these guys are practicing for like nationals. What am I
That's
doing?
that's wild.
But yeah, PAX is a big part of why I got back into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were telling me you're like an enforcer or were an enforcer.
Yeah, for the past 10 years I was.
That's a
Last year,
long time, man.
yeah, last year I retired. I spent 4 years like managing a department at the show of like 60 odd. Um, like incredible
The blue polo
experience.
shirt guys.
Yellow down here, but yeah, same
Mm,
same deal. It's just t-shirts nowadays. But yeah, incredible experience. It's how I met Gramps, who I make the show with now. It's how I met some of the best people that I
nice.
know.
Yeah, like my friend from Loading Ready Run got to go to PAX Australia a couple times, and
Yeah.
I have always been jealous because like I want to go to Australia really, really badly. It's like one of the few places in the world I have not been yet,
Mm,
and PAX is also just awesome.
yeah.
But I have a child
Of course.
and a
It does
house, and that
complicate it.
means you can't just pick up and go to Australia on a whim.
No.
Uh, but man, this has been a really fascinating conversation. Like, what do you think about? Okay, so here's a question for you from the
Mhm.
perspective of a consumer who lives outside of a major market. Um, Magic has been putting out sets every 3 days,
Feels
and,
like it.
like, you know, it feels like it, right? Like, there's just infinite flood of everything, and the exchange rate is not great for Australia to dollars. Cards are very expensive,
Mhm.
uh, and, like, we were talking early on, like, it used to be you go, you buy a booster box of the pre-release, and you buy your commander deck, whatever you call it today. Do you think that's still a manageable thing from where you're sitting?
Let's see.
I realize that's a very heavy question.
Yeah, no, I'm trying like maybe this is more just like the gravity of the reality we find ourselves in. Like I am a full-time software engineer. I earn
Mm,
decent money,
yeah,
and even I find it hard to like buy magic sealed products sometimes. Granted, cost of living everywhere is just what it is, right?
right.
So everything's expensive. Um, so yeah, it is expensive. I think like collector booster boxes are typically about 1,000 Australian.
I mean,
I don't know what the
Final
exchange
Fantasy
rate
made
works
them
out to,
1,000
but
US, then it's
yeah,
just like
yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's I think like precons at a lot of stores you could get for like somewhere between 60 and 80 Australian, which is okay for a like entry point. But it's still not great. I don't know.
No, it's rough, man. Especially like when you think that if commander precons are how we're getting people into the game,
Mm,
and a commander precon costs like $60 to $80 US or whatever, what are we doing?
yeah.
Like, what are we doing, man?
Yeah, and it's like a thing that Gramps and I like to do if we're like teaching someone to play Magic is like, here, just use one of our decks, right?
Oh,
Like
100%,
it'll
100%.
be like relative power level to everything else that we have, and so that makes it uh, a bit more fair than maybe putting like a deck that you've built up against just a stock standard precon. But it also just like lowers that barrier to entry, right? Someone can just like show up to the house, we'll pull some decks out, we'll play some cards.
I have a set of decks that I treat like a board game, where
Yeah,
they're just like, if somebody wants to learn to play or whatever, I can just pull them off the shelf. Here's a set of decks that are balanced against each other that
yeah,
are just
cool.
meant to play at a
Yeah,
certain set power level, and we can all have a good time. And if you want to learn more, I've got 8 million decks to pick from.
yeah,
But this is a good place to start.
yeah. And I think like both I like learned this from Gramps, but like if someone I know is building a deck and I've got cards that they're looking for, I'll just typically give it to them, because I would rather these cards that are sitting in a box behind me actually get used.
Right.
And I'm not like I don't love the secondary market most of the time. I'm not looking at this as an investment, because it feels like nobody learned anything from Beanie Babies. So I'd rather that the cards actually get used. They're designed to be game objects. Like, please build a deck, use these cards, take them.
I mean, I have privilege because I'm not I'm well enough to do right, and also I've been playing for a very long time, so I've got
Mm.
infinite trillion of every card or whatever,
Hmm.
and I've got more cards than I could ever use or need. And when somebody is like, when friends of mine are like starting to play, I'm just like, here's a box of just toolkit cards. Go,
Yeah,
happy birthday!
yeah.
Like one of my friends today, she was telling me like she's gotten recently into Magic with Bloomborough, and she was like building her deck, and she's like, "Yeah, man, I went out to go and order a cultivation because I couldn't find them." I'm like, "I will mail you 30 cultivates. How many do you need? Like, I will make a envelope out of cultivates and then put cultivates inside of them
Oh,
for
that'd
you.
be
I can,
amazing.
like, you know, like, come on."
Yeah,
And I was like, "Here, have a doubling season. I don't care, whatever. I've got 5 of them."
yeah.
I bought a lot of Eldraine, and there were a lot of those bonus sheets.
I think
Um,
the first card Gramps ever gave me was a doubling season for a deck that I was building, and that was when like in Australian dollars it would probably cost you about 200 for one of those.
It's, doubling season is one of those cards they can print as many times as they want, and it will always be expensive
People will
because
always want it.
everybody wants it.
Yeah.
Here, we were talking about ban lists. You wanna know something interesting?
Mm,
There was a discussion, a serious discussion that we had early on in the CAG and RC, where they were like, "People want us to have planeswalkers as commanders.
right.
If we do that, we have to ban a handful of cards that will break the game if they're not banned when planeswalkers become commanders." Among them are doubling season. And I was like, if you ban
Right.
doubling season, A, I will quit. B, you will destroy Commander. Like, doubling season is one of the most beloved, important, do nothing like pillars of the format. Like, even if it's a noob card that you abandon eventually, everybody looks at that card and has a good feeling.
Yeah.
Everybody looks at that card and says, like, man, think of the shenanigans. Like,
Why don't I
doubling
want
season
two of
is
everything?
it is the dream, right? Like you look at doubling season and you're like, this is the dream that Magic is selling me. This is magical Christmas land. I
Hmm.
have a doubling season in play. I will get 38 tokens every time I put a land out. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
And I want people to live that dream. I want people to look at this card and say, like, oh my God, I look at the possibility of the nonsense. Like the first time somebody drops a doubling season on you and you understand what's about to happen,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's not just like, oh, that's unfair. You're like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah. Oh,
And I think,
that was me.
mm, yeah. And the inherent value of, oh, I want to do that is so high
Yeah.
that I think losing the ability to have planeswalkers as your commanders is well worth the
That's
trade-off.
fine. Yeah, like I get it.
Doubling season, man. I
You can
love
have a
doubling season. Screw
planeswalker
it.
come in and probably use their biggest ability with a doubling season because you're entering with more than you need for like the board wipe
Yeah.
effect or the whatever it is.
Super Friends decks are already miserable in
Yeah.
Commander. Giving them like in the command zone and putting a doubling season on it, it just no,
No,
don't do that.
that's
Don't be
fine.
that
That's fine.
person.
Actually, we don't need that.
That's okay. I think we're good where we were at.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. This has been great. This is a really interesting conversation. Your show
Yeah.
sounds really fun.
Yeah. Hey, we have a good time. And like in the last few months, like we've started getting sort of promo kits and stuff. We got one for Final Fantasy and Edge of Eternity. So then we had to think, well, what do we do with this?
Hmm.
Because we got sent like a pre-con, and so like
Nice.
we're a show about Commander, so we're like, how do we make this interesting? And so we went through, we like copied the deck list in Moxfield and tagged all the cards based on like how well they support the thing the pre-con is trying to do, and sort of group them by function, and
Hmm.
use that as a way to like sort of try to analyze pre-con design itself. Of like the it was the Final Fantasy X Titus deck that we got.
I love that deck.
And it's really well constructed, it turns out. There's like 30 something cards that add counters in some way. There's only there's a small number of proliferate. There's a small number of move.
So
And
the secret here,
it all just kind of
you
does the
want
thing.
so you want to know the secret with the UB commander decks?
Mm.
Or with I learned this from when I was talking to Ethan about the Warhammer decks, is that they built like the Warhammer and Doctor Who decks and Final Fantasy and Lord of the Rings afterwards were built with this notion that if you buy this deck and it's the only deck you buy, we want to give you a deck that is complete out of the box that you can just play
Yep.
and not need to worry about upgrading, because you're going to upgrade it and the card's going to have a weird frame and you're going to have one card that's not looking
Yeah,
like all the rest of
course.
them.
Yeah.
That's also kind of why they abandoned the UB frame afterwards after Spider-Man or whatever.
Mm.
But it's like they want to make sure that these decks, at least, like if you go back to 2011 and look at all the different generations of precons, the original ones were almost incoherent as decks. They're just like you look at the originals and it's like 1/3 support the main commander, 1/3 are just cool reprints that Commander needed in 2011 that didn't exist for utility cards because
Yep.
nobody's ever played the format before, and then 1/3 are just like, here's some cool ideas that you can go and spin off and build your own deck with.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean,
later on, they were like, people are trying to actually play these as decks.
yeah, that's where
So-
the idea for that format came from. Was a lot of, at least as far as we look at it, a lot of precons try to do one or two too many things. Like they're trying to do too many mechanics. Like I think the Outlaws of Thunder Junction had a bit of a problem with this in particular. Like the whole set probably had a few too many keywords, and the precons kind of reflected that.
The face cards were really cool though.
They were, yeah. And like Vahan Goldwaker, I went and built that deck.
Oh my
That's
god,
fun.
I love Jan.
Yeah.
And like what's his name? Five Boots? Felix Five
Felix
Boots?
Five
Oh my
Boots, yeah.
god, what
Just
a good card.
Put the shoes on. But yeah, and then we also, because we got sent some booster packs as part of that kit. We were like, we don't want to just make pack opening videos. Because
I mean, I do.
yeah, and like they're great and I like them, but like for what we're trying to do, we want to do something a little bit more interesting. So we sort of took this idea from the main show of like something random, and took our shared love of speed running, and came up with this format where we each open a booster pack, shuffle it face down, flip cards until we find the first thing that could be a commander, and then we set a 30-minute timer and we build a deck. It's just, just in Moxfield, and then we come back after that and just go like, hey, is this anything? Would this be fun?
So I used to do this thing called we would call it like come randomer, which was like basically, because in old Gatherer there was a button there where you could just hit this is on my old show Commander where you would just hit the roulette and like pull and like even EDH Rec had like a pull up a random legend, and then it would pull up a random legend and then we would go and build a deck around it or whatever. And it's just like, that's hella fun. Like that is one of my favorite things. It's like, or like Pack Wars, just you flip the deck over, flip the pack over, shuffle in 15 lands, and then just play.
Yeah,
and good luck and go.
Yeah, but the 30-minute time limit is brutal.
Yeah, you should try making brawl decks instead of commander decks though. Then like old 60 card brawl. Like,
oh sure,
that's what that was made for.
Yeah, maybe then we would actually get something that's good, because we set ourselves a rule of like, if we run out of time, you make up the difference in terms of like building a 100-card list with just basic lands.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you just need.
That's the way Boxing League should work.
Oh
my god, I love that.
Yeah,
awesome, dude. Well, This has been lovely, and I really appreciate you coming on and cold calling me because I'm
Yeah.
enjoying this quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, if folks wanted to find you, your content or whatever, where could they go?
So the main thing is Casual Compliance on YouTube. We've got
Casual Compliance. I had mentioned this earlier, but that, swear to God, that sounds like an electrician's manual, not like a magic podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's a casual format, but it does have a ban list, and we're trying to get people thinking about it. So I don't know, there's something in there. It sounds good. It's the best thing that we could come up with. But yeah, Casual Compliance on YouTube. We're on basically every social platform except X. But if you just go to casualcompliance.fun, we've got links to everything on there to make it nice and easy, so that I don't have to remember what all the different handles are across all the social platforms.
I should do that.
Yeah, getting a domain name was a huge win for us.
You would think after like a decade or whatever doing this, I would be a little smarter about that, but I'm lazy.
Oh well.
But yeah, man, that was lovely. And as always, my friends, you can find me on Blue Sky at Shivam Bhatt. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor Dan. You can also hear me on Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic, or on the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.